So to our final little mini session then on money laundering, we're going to have a look at reporting duties and the anti-money laundering programme. First of all, though, some miscellaneous points about reporting. First of all, it's a criminal offence not to report. Okay, as we've said before, but let's get it clear in our heads, it's a criminal offence not to report. So make sure you report any suspicious transactions. Not only that, it's regardless of the amount. So even if it's a small amount, doesn't matter, regardless of the amount or the seriousness of the offence. You don't have to quantify the certainty of suspicion. So you don't need to say, let me just write this down, you don't need to quantify the certainty that you feel of the suspicion. So don't be put off by saying, well, I'm only 40% certain. You don't need to quantify it. Don't worry about that. You are suspicious. That's enough. Okay? Also, there's no automatic need to stop working for a client when a report has been filed. So it's not automatic. Often you will, but there is no automatic need to stop working for a client once reported. Okay, and that's because, again, you could be tipping off, because if you suddenly stop working for them, you're going to have to tell them why, and that could be tipping them off that you are suspicious of money laundering and they can go and hide it all. Okay, so anyway, there's some little points about it. Right, so an external report should be made to the authorities, and that should be either the money laundering reporting officer or the police or whoever it might be. Okay, but what do we actually report on? Okay, so I'm looking at what we actually report on here. Okay, name of the business. We put the identification of each person. And that identification would include things like their date of birth, their address, what role the suspect has, any references seen. For example, a bank account would be a reference, so putting there any references that we've actually seen. The details, obviously, of the suspicious transaction. And the location of any laundered property. So location of the proceeds, basically. Where it all is. Okay, so there what you need to report on. Once you've got that in your head, you need to decide, right, okay, when do I resign? We said there's no automatic need to resign. So when do I resign? Well, two reasons or two times. One, when it's in your commercial interest to do so. You are a business, after all. So if it's in your commercial interests to resign, or you think of professional or ethical reasons to resign. But always be careful about this tipping off, okay? So finally, if we're so worried, we need to find out, I think, what is a suspicious transaction? We've been talking about them, but what is one? So there's basically three. Large cash deposit, that's always suspicious. Not many people paying cash nowadays, so why are you having these large cash deposits? Any unexplained foreign transactions. Now the key there is unexplained foreign transactions, and in fact any unexplained transactions with no business sense. So it doesn't make sense in terms of how this business works. So why are you receiving that money from whatever country it is? It makes no business sense for you to be receiving that. All of those three then are suspicious transactions which must be reported upon. Which leaves us one final thing then, this anti-money laundering programme. Okay, remember it's the responsibility of the money laundering reporting officer. And what does it need? First of all then, you must have dedicated resources. to money laundering. Those dedicated resources to money laundering would be, for example, the Money Laundering Reporting Officer. And the Money Laundering Reporting Officer has to have appropriate responsibility and knowledge. Okay, so they must have appropriate responsibility, standing in the firm, knowledge, experience. Then there should be written procedures for people to follow. Okay, and these should use available technology and identify risk factors. So risk factors would be things like secrecy, transactions going through lots of jurisdictions, frequent or excessive use of transferring money between accounts. Okay, so written procedures which identify risk factors. And we said anything that's unexplained. Third thing that an anti-money laundering program should have is comprehensive coverage. Comprehensive coverage. Okay, so that means all aspects of a company's business, particularly those that have contact with customers, should be covered. Okay, so it covers all aspects of the business. And you'd also make sure that you would compare the account holder's identity to any government lists of known terrorists or anything like that. But it's about looking at the whole of the business. You need to make sure that everything's timely. Timely reports. It's no good waiting on these transactions trying to find out. Reviews of internal reports. Make sure that they're done in a timely fashion. Okay. It needs to have explicit management support. It's back to this culture that everybody believes in this anti-money laundering. So explicit management support from the top down. Senior management setting the tone. Employees understanding that senior management want this. Training, as we've said, training and education is integral to the whole programme, particularly on how to recognise suspicious activity and what to do next. And finally, regularly review the programme. Things change. Is everything being followed? So the regular reviewing of the programme, accompanied probably as well, while you review it, by formal assessment and report to make sure that everything is how it should be. Okay, so that's money laundering. Go and tackle some exam questions.